Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Flyin podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, here with my co-host, Steven Maslij.
Howdy, Matthew.
And we're coming back into another episode with no losses on the season. The Eagles are 4-0. So we're going to jump right into our thoughts on the Eagles-Jaguars game this past weekend. So, Maz, what'd you think?
The only team left undefeated. I cannot speak. We won 29-21. Was it an easy battle, Matt? No, it wasn't. There was lots of ups, lots of downs to start. It kind of went like a upside down roller coaster, like you go back up and there was a twist turn.
I got it.
And then you end like smoothly. We ended smooth for the finish with a nice strip sack by the boy Hassan Reddick, who had a great showing in tonight's performance.
You're a Temple boy.
Love him. He had his day, his coming out party per se for the Eagles. I loved every second of it. Miles Sanders had a great game. Hurts hasn't stopped showing that he's fantastic, even through adversity. Let's hop right into it. I know I'm being very vague with my points.
Nah, man, I like it. I'm with you. A lot of guys stepped up this game. This was the first game that we really showed our team overcoming adversity right from the jump. And I just wanted to point out while we're here, before we get started, that my score prediction was almost perfect. I said that we were going to win the game 31-21, and unfortunately we missed that 2-point conversion. But I wanted to point out that I was on point with where I thought we were going to be.
Well, to be fair, I said 27-21. So if we average our scores for their score, we would have had the perfect prediction. So you combine us two, and you get the Flyin podcast, baby. 29-21, perfect score prediction. I'll take it.
We both got the right idea here, but let's jump into what we think about the offense here. So obviously we're looking at a rainy day. We are catching the end of Hurricane Ian up in our area, and it was a miserable day up here in Philly at the Link. But the Eagles adjusted pretty well. What'd you see from?
So I saw a lot. So when we first threw that pick six, I wasn't very happy. I screamed some profanities to start the game. I was like, but it wasn't horrific. I thought AJ Brown could have made a tackle, but that's a side point. I thought we just started off not with the full confidence, but I never felt a sense of we're down and out. You know what I mean? Like they went up 14-0 in the first quarter, and I never felt like I was like, sit back in my chair. I'm like, we could still score, right? And then they showed us it. They showed us it with the run game. They established a run. The biggest thing that I saw happen that hurt me was Mailata getting hurt and Driscoll coming in. Jack Driscoll did not play super well in his first couple snaps, and that scared me a little bit. That made me a little because he was having the number one guy on him, obviously being a left tackle. So Josh Allen's getting right by him, and then you got Walker just getting right by him or overpowering him, where I say. But we adapted, and I love Sirianni's play calling. We adapted and overcame. And come on, we didn't expect Miles to run the ball 27 times, but we saw that the passing game wasn't working as effectively as we wanted it to. Was AJ Brown's a touchdown catch? Yes, but we had the adapt and overcome, and I felt like we had a great game plan and adjustments based on our personnel that got hurt and the weather conditions that we were to face.
Honestly, I got a few points to come back at you with on that. First of all, I wanted to point out that considering it was a rainy day, I actually told our friend Brendan, shout out my boy Brendan Sullivan, avid watcher of the show. I was telling him before the game that everyone should hammer over 100 yards on Miles Sanders, because in a game that's sloppy, where it's raining all day, that's what you got to expect. The ball is going to be slippery. You saw a play where Trevor Lawrence just dropped the ball. All the fumbles they had. It was a messy day on both sides, and we knew that was going to happen. And on days like that, you don't want the ball in the air. You don't want it flying around. You want to just stay safe and run the ball, and that's what we did. I've been saying for a long time that I've been wanting to see Miles Sanders getting near 25 carries, and this is what happens when he does. Not every game is going to be 100, not every game is going to be 27 carries for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he's always been consistent on averaging about 5 yards per carry, and he did that again this game. And, I've I've always said it: run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I love seeing him get that many touches a game. It takes away from the passing game a little bit, and I like that we've been able to jump back and forth between using what we need to in the game plan. But I love that we finally did that. And before you have a counterpoint to that, before I forget, I wanted to throw one more point about Driscoll. You mentioned Driscoll, and we've talked about him outside of the podcast as well. I wanted to point out on him that he did look a little sloppy in the first few plays, but that's only to be expected from somebody that hasn't seen any game speed the entire season, let alone going against their best defensive lineman. I think that he did start out a little bit sloppy. I saw quite a few plays where, Josh Allen and Walker were getting by him on one move, but he really settled into his position. And by the end of the game, I really didn't feel like I was noticing that anymore. I think he had a slow start along with a lot of the other guys that we had playing backups today. In that game, sorry. And I think everybody started out slow, but stepped up throughout the game.
So you weren't really counting my point too much, but to your Driscoll point, we had to go into, he was not doing well in pass protection at all.
I agree, but I felt like that was super early. I felt like I didn't notice that late in the game.
We didn't notice it late in the game because we were running the ball the entire time.
I guess that's true. I guess we kind of had to adjust to the players that we had on the field to an extent.
And I'm not trying to shit on him because you are right. Like, to that point, you are right.
Yeah, you got to think about the fact that you got a guy that hasn't played any game speed, and you're just throwing him in there in the one of the hardest positions on the field.
But that long screen to Goddard, I think it was mid third quarter or toward the end, it was literally because Josh Allen was getting by him so quickly that it was able to work. Which I don't hate him. It just showed how good, like it just showed how good Mailata is. Like, it just showed that he is like an all pro left tackle. I never even noticed in one bit how good he. Well, I always knew how good he was, but it just shows he let up a sack. I think, when was it? I think mid, probably the third too. But he to your point, he did well in the run game, and I think we had to adjust to the run game because not only the weather but to the injuries. And I mean, obviously we love running with Miles, and he did a great job, but it wasn't. I don't think it was ideal for if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, I feel you. But I just thought of a stat that I really wanted to throw out there while we're talking about the tackles, because I wanted to point out that we have the best tackle in the league, because Lane Johnson has not allowed a sack in the NFL since week 10 of 2020 in over 1,000 snaps.
Such a beast.
How insane is that?
Yeah, it's not fathomable to us to even have a tackle like that or a center like Kelsey. Kelsey getting to that next level. Kelsey was doing so well in this game that he was those holes for Miles. It was wow. And I'm not discrediting Miles.
Kelsey is always the cornerstone of our offense.
It's awesome seeing him run up the middle and just get into the line. He's kicking out that D tackle and then getting right to the linebacker, says, see it. And then the hole just expands. And then Miles all right, I'll take this. And Miles obviously is not a bad running back and he does great.
First ballot Hall of Famer. It's incredible how good our O-line is right now. And like you said, although Driscoll, was coming in as a backup, it does show how good guys like Mailata are and how much you can miss in an all-pro left tackle. We've got such a great O-line, and we're doing so great in all facets of the ball. But one of the things that I wanted to point out, aside from our top-tier roster and the starting lineup, is that as we're talking about these backups, we had quite a few backups playing in this game. We had a few players hurt. We had Mailata hurt, obviously. Darius Slay went out with a forearm injury. We had Boston Scott out for this game and Avonte Maddox out for this game. So we had quite a few backups playing starting roles in this game, namely Jack Driscoll, Zach McPherson. I apologize. I didn't write down his first name. I didn't know a lot about him. Scott, the corner, he was playing for Slay. And Trey Sermon was in there getting a few touches this game with Boston Scott out. And I just wanted to point out how confident this roster makes me, because all of these players played. I think we touched on the fact that they started out a little sloppy, getting used to the game speed, but I saw all of those players pick it up throughout the game and fill in their roles incredibly well with the opportunities they were given, and they stepped up. We had 5 key starting players out and still found a way to win this game in like pretty solid fashion. And it's just, I don't even know what to like, how to put it into words, how excited I am from top to bottom with the roster. Like you said, when we were down 14-0, you weren't worried. And it's because of how talented this roster is. Like it doesn't matter. Like you don't have we're so confident in these guys right now and the way they're playing. It's hard to like be worried about them. Even when players are getting hurt, we know we have the depth behind them to fill in these roles. Like Howie, you got to give credit to Howie. Like he's really turned it around and put together an awesome roster, despite, the way Philly fans have, treated him throughout the years, myself included. I can't deny that I've been a Howie hater in the past, but he's done some great things with this roster. And like I said, you just got to give him credit.
No, and he has, and obviously this roster is amazing from top to bottom, and I love every little bit of it. And every single week, to mention your point, a different player shines. Like Miles shined this week, Devonta Smith shined the other week. The week before that, AJ Brown was shining, and then, or that was the first week, and then Jalen Hurts was shining. And my favorite point is that Jalen didn't have the stats of like a crazy super game, but he, after that pick 6, there was no mistakes that I saw egregious. Like there was nothing. He knew what he could and couldn't do. And I felt like he just like seeing that, like him facing that adversity and going down and being able to hand off the ball. That even shows a level of maturity of, this isn't all on me. Let me give it to someone else. If I can't do it, let us work. Like I think it was not like, obviously he didn't have a great game, but it's one of my favorite. Like I think that's an improvement. Like,
well, honestly, against that point, I wouldn't even say that he had a bad game. He didn't put up the same stats that he always does, but like you said, we weren't throwing the ball that much. Considering what he did, he actually did a very good job. I mean, Hurts finished with 16 for 25, which is a solid completion rate. Finished with 204 yards and interception, obviously on one of the first plays of the game. But 204 yards on 16 completions isn't that bad, considering we had over 200 rushing yards as well.
Yeah.
And, in all 4 games that we've played, we've put up over 400 yards of offense. And it's incredible. I mean, and like you mentioned, we've been doing it in different ways every time, which is even more exciting. We've been doing it through different key players every game. One game it was AJ, one game it was Devontae, one game it was Miles, one game it was Jalen so far. So, like, I love what we're seeing from everybody.
And then even the defensive side, like Bradbury getting that huge pick in the red zone, and then Sam Reddick just playing amazing on that D line, forcing 2 fumbles and getting 2 sacks. Like it was great to see like these guys that I think Sam Reddick's the best guy on the D line, but no, like he's probably not, because we have so many great guys. And then you see Bradbury, obviously mentioned you could compare him to Slay, but I think Slay is still our number 1 corner, but he stepped up and he moved right to number 1. He was like 1A, 1B. He's like, all right, I'll take 1A right over if Slay's going to go down. And I felt like they just did a great job this game.
No, you see, man, that's the point of the Batman thing, like we don't got Robins on our team, man. We've got Batmans all around. We don't got Robins, dude. I mean, you got 1A and 1B on the corners. You got 1A, 1B, and 1C in the receivers. You got the quarterback. You got the running back. You got the D line. You got the linebackers. We've really got it from top to bottom this year, and it's the first time we felt this way in a long time.
So, do you have any concerns about the game? Like that, I have a couple. I know I want to address, but you can go first. I know we're obviously we won. We're excited. But just digging into like any concerns that you had injury wise or how the game was played.
This one's a tough one to talk about concerns for the game, mostly because, you can't account for the weather. Obviously, both teams were playing in the crappy weather, but that's something that you're not going to deal with every game. And makes an obvious difference in how the game is played. So a lot of the things I had problems with, I felt like were attributed to the weather. So honestly, I don't have a whole lot to talk about in terms of what I want to see from them moving forward. I'll let you handle that. But the one thing I would love to point out about this game that is going to show why the Eagles are winning every game, and it's the only stat you have to look at, is that the Eagles' total yards this game to the Jags' total yards. Eagles had 401 total yards of offense to the Jags' 219 total yards of offense.
Double.
We almost doubled their offensive totals. And on top of that, the Eagles' time of possession was 39.51 minutes. The Jags' time of possession was 20.09.
Yeah. No, if we had that's
you can't lose the game that way, dude.
You're not able to. You're not able to, and it's
almost more impressive to lose the game that way than it is to win. Like,
that would have been ridiculous. It's all good. I get nervous about the little things. Like you mentioned it earlier, like the Chauncey stuff. I did see Chauncey get beat a couple times, and like even I think it was Christian Kirk who had that long 45-yard reception that he just came down too quickly, and I just get a little nervous that obviously he didn't do it against the top tier like Jay Jets and stuff, but I just get a little nervous about certain little things like that you pointed out before, because I was watching it throughout the game, and I did see him bite on a few of those things and coming down too early. Then there was a long completion, for sure. And I felt like we kind of got. It's not lucky, so that's not the word. I can't find a word I'm trying to use, but them having 5 turnovers like helped us a lot. Like it's not like, I know we had the time possession and I know we had way more yards than them and stuff, but having 5 turnovers and you're only losing the game by 8, I know that's not the entire story of the game, but because obviously forcing us obviously we won for a reason, but having a 5-1 turnover differential, and it just makes me a little nervous because they had a chance. Literally, I know Jason Elliott was hurt. So 2 minutes left. I'll premise it like this because I know I'm just speaking. 2 minutes left. It's 4th and 3 on their 21. We're in touchdown range. We're in field goal range. But however, Elliott got hurt earlier in the game. He hit 28-yard field goal to start out the 4th quarter, but we couldn't use him. So we went for it. We don't get it. So next thing you know, we're only up 8, and they have a 2-minute drill to lead down the field. Well, thankfully for Hassan Reddick, he just gets a turnover strip sack, and it's like, all right, see ya.
Yeah, game's over. But without that, they've got a chance to play.
Yeah. It's just having a game. It's still a very close game. And not that we were super worried about it. It's just like, you see it happen, and you're like, well, like, let's not let him get into the red zone and have to get a pick like that. Let's not that, I don't know. I can't describe how, like, we just were slow in the 1st and 3rd quarters. We still didn't play 4 full quarters of football.
Yeah, that's what I mean, dude. It's hard to say how to feel about this game considering how much of it was attributed to the turnover. I mean, not to the turnovers, to the weather.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Like it made such a difference in the game. I don't see that game playing out like that at all. I mean, you're not seeing 5 turnovers. You're not seeing that pick 6 from Jalen Hurts to start off the game. You're not seeing us run the ball the whole game. It's a whole different game if it's not pouring out like that.
But it's all about adjustments, and I'll give credit.
That's when I go back to the quote that Hassan Reddick had after the game, where a reporter was asking him a question about he was kind of using the weather as an excuse, and Hassan Reddick said, "Screw that. We were all playing in the same weather. Yeah, we won the game.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, if we're all playing the same, I agree with you that we definitely looked sloppy. And there's definitely little things to fix up on. The Chauncey Gardner thing, that definitely worries me. I saw a lot of communication errors when the new guys came into the game. We're going to have to work on little things like that. Luckily, this team is kind of aware of the little things they have to work on, though. I feel like every time, just checking up on Instagram after a game, seeing their victory speeches, seeing Jalen Hurts talk, Sirianni talk, the other leaders in the team talk, they all point out the little things. Just even right as soon as the game's over, they're like, all right, we did this, this, and this wrong. Let's go into next week and figure this out. And so far, every week they've walked in, they've fixed the things that they struggled with the previous week, which is one of the most exciting things about them right now.
No, I love it. And you mentioned it. We mention it all the time. It sounds like they're like listening to the podcast, but we're like literally just reiterating things that we see happen and or that they're going to watch film and see this obviously more in depth than we are. And they tend to fix it. And I like how I love Sirianni, how obviously he's not calling the plays. What's his name? Steve.
He's relinquished the play calling to the offensive coordinator.
But either way, I like the play calling he's doing. I like how Gannon's. He's sent a few blitzes. TJ Edwards looks fantastic at linebacker.
Yes, he does.
He looks amazing. I know he had a sack and I think like 6 tackles. He's doing great. I mean, I'd say it on every podcast, but I want to watch Dean play a snap of football.
When you've got linebackers playing the way they're playing right now, it's just, it is what it is. You can't play everybody.
I know.
We'll see. We will see Dean in time.
Jordan Davis had a nice tackle against Etienne. Just like not even.
Jordan Davis is he's the 5th ranked PFF rookie this year on the defensive side of the ball. So so he's we're not seeing a ton of production from him in terms of the stats, but it's another situation with the kind of guys that you see like Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox is the kind of player that doesn't show up on the stat sheet all that much, but absolutely impacts a game from top to bottom. And Jordan Davis isn't quite on that level yet. He's only a rookie. We're only seeing so much of him, but he's absolutely making a big difference in that run game. And PFF, at least, PFF can be a little iffy, but they're noticing, as well as other coaches, I believe. So his kind of impact is the kind of impact that everyday fans aren't going to notice on the TV.
Yeah. I would like to see him play more snaps now.
Absolutely. But I've thought about the fact that, he's 380 pounds, he's 6'8", or whatever his exact credentials are. He's a big man. Can he play more snaps yet?
That's true.
He might not be able to.
That's fair.
So he might have some work to get into shape.
Yeah.
It's hard to say exactly what their plan is. I've also agreed with you and said that I would love to see him on the field more, but it might be a lot deeper than just, him not getting on the field.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And for the record, Colby Dean got his first tackle this game, so good job, buddy.
Speaking of guys getting their first times, I also wanted to point out that Trey Sermon got 2 carries this game, which I was kind of excited about. I like seeing him. He actually had 2 really good carries. He had 2 carries for 19 yards. He averaged 9.5 yards per carry. He only got 2, but it was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see him get a little bit of a role going forward. I doubt it, but it's possible. I like him. So
you like him? I've
always liked him.
I don't hate him. I don't.
I think he's got talent. I just think he's got talent. He was running the ball hard those two carries I saw.
Hey, Travis is my guy. So on Jaguars, which he didn't do great, but he did better than James Robinson. They got the same amount of carries, but we don't talk about that.
That is one last thing I would like to point out that we did not touch on in this.
Their run game.
Their run game.
Horrible. They did so bad.
Well, dude, we've been shutting down every run game.
We're doing great.
Dude, that's aside from the first week where we were playing the Lions, and that was our biggest, our fatal flaw that kept them in the game. We played Dalvin Cook and held him to 17 yards. We played James Robinson and Etienne and held them to a combined 61. Yeah. Combined 61 between the two, 29 from James Robinson and 32 from Etienne. Who do we play last week?
We gave up 30 yards to Gibson.
We're really shutting down the run game. We're making teams one-dimensional.
No, that's a great point you made, and I know we're just on the same page right now, but I love it. I just didn't even notice that. Like, I didn't really notice that. Like, we're doing that great ever since Swift got like 300 yards on us. Like, it's fantastic. I love it.
I keep going back to those hardcore adjustments that they're making after they make mistakes. Like,
dude, they
crazy. Messed up again. That defensive line and the linebackers were not playing well. They weren't tackling well against the run game. They weren't filling gaps. And then boom, next 3 weeks they haven't let up more than 100 yards between 3 different teams. Like, it's awesome.
No, it's fantastic. Sorry, my computer's about to die because I have a stupid computer. So let's get right into the Thursday night football.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So I just want to point out our records again.
Poorly.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, what a bad week. I was so behind I can't hear you. So
all right. Well, let me talk this one out.
You go first.
Yeah. I'll talk this one out because Masley's having some connection problems here. This past week I went 1-1-2 on the week. I had 2 pushes, unfortunately, so my record comes out to 5-9-2 on the season so far. And for this Thursday night matchup between the Broncos and the Colts, I'm going to take the hometown team. I don't really like this game, but I'm going to go with the Broncos. We're going to ride with them. -3.5 for them. Let's ride. I think that they're a more talented roster, and the Colts aren't going to have Jonathan Taylor. So I think I'm just going to stick with the hometown team on this one.
No, I'm joining you on the train. I think that when Russell Wilson finally gets started, they're going to be able to actually move the ball more and have a better, more prolific offense. Sorry about Javonte Williams, by the way. He tore his ACL and LCL, so he's out for the season.
Prayers up.
But 3.5. The Colts haven't showed me anything. I'll take the Broncos. And I hate having the same pick as Matt. We have to go against each other more. We push in the game we went against each other on Sunday, the Bills and Ravens, and of course they tied a line at 3.
That was funny.
Naturally,
that was quite the ending for that one. But
that was great.
Yeah, man, that's okay. You got to pick the team that you think is gonna win. We're gonna have to. This matters. This all matters. This is all going towards your hair or no hair at the end of the season. So don't you forget.
Yeah, I'll have hair. I'll start trying again. I gotta make it close to make it look like I don't care.
Yeah, he's
I really
not
do care.
trying.
I'm
for sure. But all right, guys, this has been our preview of, our review of the Eagles-Jaguars game. We are going to be jumping into this next week against the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday, so we will get into our preview of that later this week. So I just want to thank you all again for tuning in, and we will see you next week.